Hello, everyone. Anahita is host now. Perfect.
Yes, hi, it worked.
Brilliant. Hello.
Hi.
I'm just gonna switch to full screen. Can you see the presentation properly?
I see it properly, so I'm gonna assume that the others do too.
Amazing. So, hello and welcome to our workshop. Doom scrolling is messing up my head, but it's also all I can do in this shitty pandemic. LMAO. My name is Caren Miesenberger, and
My name is Anahita Neghabat, and I'm very happy to be here today and to be working with Caren on this, and yes, to share our experiences with you.
so am I. So maybe, yeah, we're gonna work for 1 hour together with everyone who's here. And maybe before we introduce ourselves, you will need a pen and paper, probably, like it ideally, because we would try to work and not with non-digital devices if possible. And now we would like to introduce ourselves briefly before we start.
Yes, so shall I start perhaps?
Yes. Yeah.
So first of all, as I said, I'm very happy to be here, but it's always super weird to kind of talk into a void, which is also very telling of this whole event, I guess, because basically I only see Caren at the moment. And so it's just the two of us, and hopefully we'll have a chance to be in more like in discussion actually with you as the participants. But yes, first let me introduce myself. So as I said, my name is Anahita Neghabat. I live in Vienna, and I'm in Vienna right now. I'm a social anthropologist and I make political memes on Instagram. So in 2019, I started making political memes under the pseudonym Ibiza Austrian Memes. And I have been criticizing Austrian interior politics from an intersectional feminist, anti-racist, and anti-authoritarian perspective. And these are also the topics that I'm politically and artistically and academically interested in. Yes, and I low-key am addicted to my phone, which is basically my qualification today, because I have a problem, and I hope we're going to find some strategies against doom scrolling, because yeah, it is messing up my head and my hobbies and my free time. Yes.
Yeah, maybe I can start over at this point. Okay. Yeah. So I share two things with, or like a number of things with Anahita. We met in, maybe say something about how we met. We met
Yes.
in, so I had a project before that was called Feminist Meme School, and it was basically a collaborative workshop slash Instagram page where people, which also was part of DICE Festival before, and I went to Vienna for Wienwoche, and I was looking for, because I didn't want to go there and like, hey, I'm the meme authority, which I find difficult. So I was looking for cool people with cool meme pages, and I randomly sent a message to Anahita, and then she was part of the workshop I gave there and gave an input. So that's how we met. And since I think it was in 2019, no? Right?
Perhaps it actually was a little differently, and it just shows how solidarity is at the core of your practice. A media journalist approached me about my meme page, and I asked them who recommended me, and they said Caren Miesenberger from Berlin, and I was like, what? I don't know her. Like, how did she recommend me? And then I messaged you, and you were like, yeah, I just like your work. So I told this journalist, hey, this Viennese journalist, at least interview someone from Vienna. I don't want to claim the main expertise on this. And that's actually how we met, yes. But we met at Wienwoche. So the story is right, but it started with your solidarity, basically.
Thanks for correcting it. It's also, maybe this is like part of the messiness in my head. So what I do, like I've been working with memes too, and I am like professionally a social media editor and also a journalist. So that's like my practice. And I also revolve around topics of like criticizing discrimination, I would say in a broader sense, and popular culture and digital culture. But yeah, maybe now we can start with the part where we talk about doom scrolling.
Yes.
Would you like to say it? Should I? What do you think, Anahita?
Please feel free to give us a brief definition. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you can see we were talking about, like, before we were thinking about this workshop. We thought that we want to clarify somehow what we're talking about actually. And we found, Anahita actually suggested this definition on doom scrolling. Yeah, and you can all read it, doom scrolling and doom surfing are new terms referring to the tendency to continue to surf or scroll through bad news. Even though that news is saddening, disheartening, or depressing, many people are finding themselves reading continuously bad news about COVID-19 without the ability to stop or step back. So when we read it, I think we had one thought, both of us had one thought. Maybe you want to say it, Anahita?
Yes, so actually, if that's what you're referring to, we thought that it's actually like it doesn't really grasp the full phenomenon, because if it was only negative news or upsetting news or news that was making you anxious, probably you would put your phone away at some point. But we felt like it's basically this sudden change of delightful content, amusing content, then outrageous content, content that's making you anxious, content that's giving you distraction, then content that's making you happy, content that's cute. I don't know, like this really, really quick, and then information even that you actually want to consume, that's actually making it so addictive. At least for me, yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and also something I felt. I think that the term like it's not. It shouldn't, like, doom scrolling for me doesn't only refer to bad news. It also refers to, maybe that's also, yeah, you kind of said that. But maybe for me, it's like something, it's actually the practice. For me, it's just like the practice of like not being able to stop to doom scroll. And also sometimes something that I do is I'm on like most, it used to be Instagram, then I don't know, then it shifted, but like I just couldn't stop. And whenever I felt sad, for instance, or I had like some kind of feelings, I would still like scroll through them. And this was something I found really, this is something that I would refer to as doom scrolling.
Yeah, for me, it's actually exactly the same. So for me, it's mostly anxiety. And I feel like this constant scrolling is sort of a distraction, but at the same time, and we talked about this, it also affects you. Like, it's not just a distraction, but actually, if you do it for a couple of hours afterwards, you feel extremely full with all this information, but at the same time, extremely empty, and it becomes extremely difficult to do something else afterwards. So I feel like the longer I scroll, the more difficult it becomes to actually do something else afterwards. So even washing the dishes, for example, can become extremely difficult because all of a sudden my flat feels extremely empty, extremely silent. I feel like my brain is overstimulated and understimulated at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's a good point to like go to the next slide. We were also thinking about some. So I was on Instagram I was super Instagram. Addiction is such a big word, but I think it's suitable. I should just use it and destigmatize it. But I was like really Instagram addicted, and then I stopped using it. That's another story. But I was doing since then a lot of reading on like this question of what to what is this actually happening, and what's happening to bodies, and what's happening from a critical perspective, like under capitalism. And maybe I could share this. I have this book. It's here. I have it. It's a very big book, and I was reading in it also to not stare on screens anymore. And something I found really interesting in that book by Mark Fisher. I can also send the link afterwards. He wrote the text in, I don't know which date, but he passed away 5 years ago. So it was, I think, in 2013 or 14, and the text was called "No One is Bored, Everything is Boring." And maybe that's not really suitable in this very moment because of the current like political situation of the world. But I found it really interesting because he writes about what he calls capitalist cyberspace, which sounds kind of old school from our perspective now, like the word cyberspace. But he writes about how you don't really have any feelings anymore, and how this, like, he ties it closely to his concept of capitalist realism, which is like the lack of imagination of the end of capitalism, and how it's embedded in society, especially at university where he taught. And I don't know, maybe you have some thoughts about this, Anahita, too, about this idea, or some.
Maybe say a little more about the notion of being. So what no one is bored and everything is boring actually is about. So about this notion of boredom in this context, maybe.
Yeah, he says something like from his perspective, it's, oh God. From his perspective, he says there's no counter proposal, like boredom. There's no like punks used to be like have a lot of action, for instance, and doing something, but when he published this text, everybody was so tired, and also because of late capitalism, so there's not really anything to do, and you cannot afford doing anything either. I think I'm not sure if he was teaching in London, but like in some expensive English city. Yeah, so
yeah, I mean, I
that's
really relate to the sense of like constant activity. If that's what one could also describe as never being bored, basically, no one
yes.
being bored. So there's constantly something that you are either doing or that you should be doing. And I also feel like doom scrolling plays a huge role in that for me in my also like everyday work practice, as it keeps me busy to a certain extent. So if I would actually calm down, it would be much more difficult to then get up again at like 8 p.m. and continue working on some project. But it keeps you in the state of arousal that also makes it easier to then do something again. But at the same time, it makes me super unproductive, right? Because I like if productivity is the goal, which I'm problematizing here, but because I spend hours and hours and hours in doing it, and actually, I honestly, as we talk to each other in preparation for this talk, I realized that I don't have any hobbies anymore. So all the things that I used to do, I'm not doing anymore because I basically never have full attention on just one thing. The only time I think when I'm not focusing on my phone is when I'm actually meeting with other people, talking to other people. So then it's actually quite easy for me to put my phone down, but just on my own, being with myself and being bored long enough so that I get creative again just never happens.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Something maybe if we're already talking about the preparation of this talk. So I was not on Instagram for a year. Then yesterday I was like, okay, I'm just gonna download it and I'm gonna post a link to this event because not because of like, oh, promo, blah, blah, but because I actually thought it's so like, I know a lot of people on Instagram who can relate to this, I think. I'm not sure. I don't want to speak for other people, but like, I think it's a thing. So it was a really interesting curve I had because I downloaded it and I was like, it felt like seeing a lot of people again because I literally saw a lot of people again. And then I posted it and people were like looking at it and liking it and sending me messages. And so I was full of, I think, dopamine. I don't know if it's dopamine, but I felt like really high. And then I saw something that made me sad and and then I felt really bad. But I was still like, I was constantly doom scrolling and actually this today I posted it again and then I deleted the app again because I was like, okay, I cannot, it's too much.
Yeah, but then what's also interesting about this, if you're already talking about capitalism and labor and work, how closely it's connected to our everyday work practices, right? So, and I think that goes for many people that with, I mean, okay, maybe it's also the type of work that we're doing, but I think it does go for many people that there, first of all, in many cases and in many fields, there's an expectation that you're constantly up to date. And so doom scrolling can feel, and this is definitely like applies to me, but I've also talked to friends who say the same thing, that it to them feels like they almost tell themselves it's a hobby. Like if they're lying in bed after a long day at work and they're scrolling through Twitter, they feel like I am a person who wants to be politically up to date anyway. Sure, I also feel like I should know this tomorrow if I step into my workplace where it's about politics. But I mean, this is basically my spare time, right? So there's this, it's completely like boundless, and it's also unpaid labor. And then it also feels like, or it kind of takes place of what would otherwise be hobbies. And I mean, there's this kind of, first of all, the expectation that you're constantly available, and then but also the expectation that you're constantly up to date and that you're not missing big things. And then a completely different aspect of all of this is that you constantly, I mean, as you just said, you didn't want to promote it, quote unquote, but I mean, it is about promoting our work as well, right? This is also a huge tool in like networking and in basically making your work seen, in staying connected to other people, and also like, which is necessary if you want certain resources and if you need certain resources to be able to do your work, not just precariously, not just unpaid, but to actually like, so, and then this is also for me where it becomes really, really difficult because I have reasons to actually go on the app, but then I stay there.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the reasons, it's not like you can say, okay, I'm doing this for 1 hour now, and all my reasons to be on the app, I can like tick off. I did this, I did this, I did this. But instead, like there are coming reactions in at certain times in the day that you cannot control. And sometimes it's a time that's not like actually the right time. So it becomes really, really difficult to actually step away from it. And I think another thing we talked about was how I assumed, I made the assumption, I'm not sure, like I can prove this.
But sorry. What's wrong? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, good. That basically, I'm not going to say like no one is talking about it, but I feel like this really also ties into this whole discourse of if we would have just more self-discipline, we wouldn't have this problem. So instead of actually talking about the structure behind it, the power mechanisms behind it, I even like shame myself constantly, feeling like, why am I wasting my time that much? Why do I not have hobbies? Why am I spending time on this stupid app? Why am I consuming content that I personally often, not always, I like a lot of the content, but often I feel it's really like shitty or problematic, or why am I doing this to myself, basically?
Yes.
Instead of collectively problematizing the power mechanisms behind it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And while we're talking, I have to get a book that fell down, and it's it's this book. We can maybe shortly talk about it, because in this book, so the author of this book is called Julia Bell, and it's very small, and I found it by accident in an online store somewhere. It's called Radical Attention, and I will, like, this one and also the Mark Fisher text, it's both, like, there's a reading of this book available online. And I think something you just said that was really interesting is, I don't know, it could be like not being able to focus a lot is something she writes about in this book. And I liked it because it's not from a digital negative perspective. Like, she really, so it's not like she's not like this old boomer who says, oh, the internet is dangerous, but it's actually someone who says, okay, it has a lot of radical potential, but how, like, actually platforms, and this is something that connects to what you just said, it's not just like individual jobs, but also like these platforms, they benefit from our distraction, because we're just like, before we think about, oh, they're like actually taking our data for free, we're providing our data for free, and they sell it, and they don't give anything, like they don't care about democracy, they're actually destroying it, in the case of Mark Zuckerberg, for example. Instead of thinking about it, I'm like just here for the next cat video, which is great, but it's kind of this Widerspruch. Was heißt das auf Englisch?
Oh, I'm just wondering myself. It's very ambivalent.
Contradiction.
Also, it's a contradiction.
Yeah. The contradiction we have.
Yeah, and I mean, the book is called Radical Attention, right?
Yes.
Or it is about. Could you maybe say a little bit about the notion of radical attention?
Yeah. So I think what she writes about is how attention is, like, how the destruction of attention is something, or like the potential of reclaiming attention, how it has a radical potential, because like only if we pay like actual physical attention to each other, there's no way of being able to overthrow the system. That's how she, I don't know if she would say it exactly like this, but like she says, this is something I found really interesting in this, because I've heard so many arguments on like, oh yeah, it's ruining attention. And also my personal attention span isn't longer than 15 seconds because of Instagram stories, for instance. It's like really hard for me to focus. And so what she's writing about is how, like, if we give each other full attention, we can also take this attention and put it on something that deserves it, instead of like letting it destroy ourselves and destroy our connections with other people and our maybe abilities of, like, I don't know, to read a book or whatever. Not allow that to happen, but like make it stop.
Yeah, and to actually be present, right?
Sorry?
And our ability to actually be present.
Yes.
But no matter what we're doing, because a lot of the content I consume is good, is informative, but I'm not fully present with that content either.
Yes. Yeah, me neither. But maybe this is a good point to go, because it's a workshop, and maybe it's a good, so we have a couple of tasks. It's a workshop. So the first task we would have, I'm keeping my phone on here because I need it.
For the workshop.
Yes, for the workshop.
That's the only excuse.
Yeah. So maybe those of you who are participating and oh God, I'm talking very much Denglish today. So those of you participating and those of you who can, we would kindly like to ask you to switch off your cell phone if possible. And
I just realized that I don't know. I found it now, but I didn't know how to switch off my phone.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So maybe those of you who have done it, just write an X into the chat so that we know.
Here's proof. Yes, it's gone.
Annie has switched off. Okay, cool. People are switching off their phones. Congratulations, first step.
I can feel the anxiety levels rising.
Yes. So I'm okay. I've switched. I forgot to talk about this, but maybe we go. What do you think, Anahita? Should we go directly to the second task? Does it make sense?
Yes, unless you would like to say something more about radical attention, but you already talked about it. So
yes, I did.
Yeah.
I didn't. I forgot to. That it was at this time. Okay, so now we have a task, a different task, a second task, and I'm gonna put on an alarm clock. And the task is, if possible, if you have a window nearby, we would like to ask you to move to that window. I'm also gonna do it. Or maybe if you don't have a window, just sit somewhere and look into the space and stay there for 5 minutes. And I will switch off the camera and the sound, and I will call you back in 5 minutes. And the task is to just look outside. So see you in 5 minutes.
See you in 5.
Okay, everyone, 5 minutes are over. I hope you can all come back. Okay, cool. Anahita is back. So, how did it feel? Maybe Anahita, you can start, and then if there's people who would like to say something, feel free.
So I can definitely start. First of all, the really strange thing was the second you said, so we're gonna have 5 minutes, my brain immediately, and I knew the exercise, right? My brain immediately jumped to, like, I had an image of myself lying on my bed behind me with my phone in my hand. Like, this is going to be how I'm going to use my break. And then I remembered, no, you're not doing that. Then next thing, I thought, oh, I can maybe go to the restroom and get a glass of water and then I was like, no, that's not the exercise. Like actually keeping myself busy. So I of course did the exercise. And I think for the first 10 seconds or 20, I have no feeling for time. My brain still was trying to like keep me entertained, I guess, because I saw a beautiful tree that's not covered in leaves, but instead in like pink flowers. It's beautiful. And I thought, oh, you should really use your time for something better and go there at some point and not just look at it from your window, right? So instead of being in the moment, again, I set myself a task. And maybe after half the time was over, I finally actually, I think, was present in the moment for maybe a minute. I don't know. So it's actually crazy to see. Sometimes I feel like maybe I should meditate, maybe I should do this and that. And I think the limits I'm setting myself are way too big because apparently it's difficult for me to be present for 30 seconds. So at first it was stressful, but then it was good, but also just because I knew it's a short amount of time, you're going to call me back immediately. And maybe if I would have been on my own, I would have been like 5 minutes, nothing, do 10, you know, like really this, I don't know, productivity mindset of it's crazy. How was it for you?
Maybe one question before, did you have any physical reaction in your body?
Yeah, so at first I really like strongly felt my hand, like the hand that I would take my phone with. At one point I was looking out my window and had my phone in my hand. Mm-hmm. And I was like, because it's right next to me, right? I was like, what are you doing? Put it down. So I could really feel that actually. And I was not super anxious, but I certainly would have been, I think, if it wouldn't have been in the framework of this. So I really like, I gave my full responsibility to you. You're doing this exercise and it's not me forcing myself to look out the windows for 5 minutes and questioning why I cannot do it longer, but it's going to be over soon. We're going to talk about it. Like, therefore it was okay. But yeah. So for you, how was it for you?
I was stressed. I was really like the first, I do it like I nibble my hands anyway, and I was doing that like this, looking out of the window. But I actually had the same thought as you. Like I was feeling really nervous, and I had the same thought as you. Like I should go to the restroom, but I didn't. And then what also physically happened was that what I did was I went to my phone twice. It was here's like where the computer is on a table and the window's over there. You can see it in the back and it's really close, but I was afraid that I wouldn't hear I set a reminder and I was afraid I wouldn't hear it. So I went once after 3 minutes and then after like when 20 seconds were left.
So yeah,
I was like apparently so, I depend so much on this digital device that I can't even, but I don't trust it. I don't know. It's
it's a very toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Fuck,
so maybe
someone already wrote something in the chat, I think.
Yes, Nadine.
Can I read it?
Nadine, yeah, you can also, Nadine, if you want to say it, you can also say it yourself.
Oh, please, yes.
Now we have a couple of minutes for those who want to share.
I don't know that they can. Okay, because if I look at the host and people, you know.
I will just make Nadine quickly Sprecherlaubnis. I will give them Sprecherlaubnis. Now you can talk.
But no pressure.
Yes, if you want to.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ah, cool.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I mean, as I wrote already in the chat, that I immediately wanted to turn on my phone. And I actually did cheat. I did turn it on to look. Then I turned it off again because I felt embarrassed. No, not like in a not like in a really sad way. I kind of laughed at myself for it, that I'm so incapable. But I feel like also it's normal. I know many other people also feel like it probably as well. And then I really was feeling like I'm creeping on my neighbors because I look out my window and all I see is the windows across from the streets and also the people walking by. So I was like, can you see me? Or I look at you. So yeah. And I wanted to text this to someone, but then I really tried to keep my shit together and not do this. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks for telling us. And this was very relatable to me. So actually, when I'm present in the moment for longer than, I don't know, like 5 seconds, I'm like, I could either make a story about this, I could text someone, or I could just take pictures like for myself, but still then I'm looking at the world through my phone, right? So it feels like even if I recognize something beautiful in the present moment, like for example, right now we have golden hour, the light's really beautiful, but usually if I'm present enough to realize that, I would then take my phone between the world and me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really relatable to me too. I would take my phone and probably take a photo.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Nadine. Would anyone else like to share how this felt like for them? You can talk or in the chat or however you feel like it.
You can also probably just like write, I would like to say something, or just me or I in the chat, and then we can give you a Sprecherlaubnis. We can enable you to speak.
Yes.
Or you can just write if you're shy.
Yes, you can also just write, or also if you feel more comfortable talking in German, we both speak German, and it's also fine.
And you can also admit that you didn't do the exercise.
Yes, yeah, that's also exactly. Yeah, I also forgot to say that, Nadine. Yeah, I know this feeling of guilt, but I think, or like feeling bad. I don't know which word you used, but yes, this is the idea of the workshop, to be able to be aware of this, also maybe this guilt.
Yeah.
No, Danica wants to say something. Okay, great. We'll give you Sprecherlaubnis. Now, Dani, you can say something.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? I'm with my partner in this room, and I went to the window and started looking outside, and he was like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" And making fun of me as I was doing this, and asked me like, "Do I want a podcast?" Because I never sit in silence and look outside. And it's kind of a joke that I need a podcast, like even to move to another room. So yeah, I felt kind of observed in this moment. And then also very self-conscious because of it. But yeah, I saw some interesting things. I saw also across the street at my neighbor's, which is very far across the street. I live on Sonnenallee. But I never look into their windows, and I saw someone playing darts inside. Yep, that's it.
You're muted, Anahita. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. That's what I was saying. I think you're raising like a really interesting point about space, and how I can easily imagine that, like, I don't know, especially if you have kids, for example, how being on your phone, maybe having your headphones in, can perhaps become the only way or the only space where you do have time to yourself, even though you're like in the void and not completely to yourself. But maybe the second you put it down, you're actually not alone anymore, and also not present in the moment. So I really found it, I mean, maybe that's not your situation, but you were raising this point of like being in the same space as someone else and feeling observed. So yeah. And I also, maybe to just add to that, when we discussed this, so Caren and I, before the event, I also realized, as I was reflecting about my own doom scrolling behavior, that sometimes I'm like, okay, you're gonna go someplace, you're gonna take the tram or the metro, and just take this time to be present, because you have a lot of stimulation. It should be easy to not be on your phone. Just look out the window, just look at other people. And then it's really like when, for example, men, not for example only men, like stare at you or say something, or like it becomes really, really like, I really realize that this is often the moment I do take off my phone, to just create this sort of bubble around me where it's just me in my phone, no one's looking at me, I'm not looking at anyone, I'm not realizing anything. So I think this also has a lot to do with like space actually retrieving into the cyberspace, because you cannot really be present in the space that surrounds you.
Yeah, I agree to what you just said, and I also thought like I live alone with the cat, and sometimes the cat, I don't know, now he's sleeping, but sometimes he's like being a cat. So, but that's like I have a door I can close, and then the cat is outside, and then I have space on my own. And this is like also, I mean, this exercise is also one of like we have to speak about space in this and the privilege of having a room on one's own, like to be able to do this in undisturbed, right? So maybe that's also something good to know about.
Yeah, to even have just 5 minutes that you can actually look out the window if you could. Yeah.
And maybe I can just read what Mara said, wrote something in the chat. I was in the moment and looking out of the window for like 30 seconds, and then I was like, oh, guess it's time to do dishes. And then I just started doing dishes until the timer was up, and I was reminded I was supposed to just vibe and look out of the window, lol.
Also
okay.
Extremely relatable.
Yes.
Also, always something you should be doing or you could be doing.
Yeah.
So
maybe we go to the next slide. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes sense. So we asked you to have pen and paper on hand. So now, 5 minutes. I will set timer again, and it's just ideas for you to have a paper, and on one side you write this question, on the other side you write something else that will come later. So just write down for 5 minutes, in which situations do I doom scroll?
You and 5.
Is it clear? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just reflect on your own doom scrolling practice.
Yes. I will put my video out and the sound, so I will call you back in 5 minutes again.
Same. See you.
Okay, so slowly we can continue. Please come back, everyone. We now have, I realized I forgot to say something, or we both forgot to say something, but maybe this is the right time to say it. Because now what we're going to do together is we're going to write in a pad. I will put the link into the chat. We will write down strategies against doom scrolling. So please, everyone, I will write the link, and then you can all type in what you can do instead of doom scrolling, or what you would like to do, or your strategy. And something the thing I forgot to say is we're both not psychologists. Maybe this is important at this point to say. So we're both, I don't know, I can just speak on my own behalf. I'm like struggling with spending too much time on social media, and that's my expertise.
I can definitely also say that about me.
Okay, so we're like, if you really struggle with this, this might be a start to like for an Auseinandersetzung, to like look at it a little bit more, but we are not, we cannot provide like real consulting or anything. So this is very DIY. And link, I shared it now. Feel free to write something into it. I hope it works. Let me know if it works. I will share it too. And the pad will be kept for a year. So it's I will stop this the sharing of this screen.
For me, it's working.
Okay, great. I will start sharing this. Okay, so feel free to type something in. We have like 5 minutes, and then we're gonna do something else.
Are we adding stuff too, Caren?
Yes, yeah, everybody's adding stuff. Yeah, I mean we can add stuff. Everyone, I just write something down.
Oh, someone cannot copy it.
Oh, I can't copy it. Okay, maybe. Oh damn. Maybe is there an option? Or maybe you can just write what you want to add, and then we add it until I find a way.
That's also a possibility, yes. So in the meantime, if anyone else has this problem, you can also write it in the chat, and I'm gonna copy it into the document.
Great.
And we're trying to find a solution in the meantime.
I sent it again. Maybe now it's clickable.
Yeah, it looks clickable for me.
Does it work now? It doesn't show to the okay, now it does.
Yeah.
Now it should be there. Okay. I'm officially an offline person. I sent,
good for you.
Yeah, I just sent the host and discussion participants, and not to everyone.
Yeah, but someone's already writing, so I
great.
think it worked. Amazing.
Oh wow. Oh, airplane mode is good.
Mm.
I'm thinking about it's difficult for me to write it in English. Oh, buy a watch is really good. This is a good idea.
Do you have a watch?
I have a watch. It's old and broken, and I never use it. And I even have an alarm clock.
Yeah.
It's next to my bed, and
But you
I
don't
never
use
use it. It's very ugly. I think I got it when I was in primary school, and it's still there. And it's very. I only look at it sometimes when I have my phone in airplane mode when I sleep at night. Do you also do that, Anahita?
No.
No.
First thing in the morning, I look at my phone. I have 20 notifications, and then if I have time, I spend 3 hours in bed, and I'm already tired before I even got up.
Okay. Yeah. Shoot. Notifications. Yeah, I think somebody turn off my notifications.
Yeah, I wrote that, and I did that actually a couple of days ago after our conversation.
Great.
And it helped a lot.
Yeah, but do you have how did you turn off only the sound or like the visible?
The visible thing. That's
okay,
very
great.
important to me. Yeah, I only have WhatsApp, but I muted several groups and people on WhatsApp even.
Oh, great.
People where I know I don't need to see it immediately.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to see it immediately because it's work related, and if I'm out, I'm not working, so I can't even do something about it. Yeah.
Okay, so, great.
That's actually helping. Oh, I love to do karaoke. Someone wrote it's good. Actually, but that really helps me against my anxiety. I realized singing. Singing, yes, a lot. So, and I am doom scrolling when I'm anxious, so that would be a really good tip for me.
Great. I also saw somebody commenting in the chat, when I'm laying down while doom scrolling and can't motivate to get up, I switch to my music or podcast and turn something on while lying down, so then I can get up, because there's a switch in my brain. I have to do something like to the bias. I don't know what that means. Like an easy task with an outcome. Okay, interesting. Good strategy. So yeah, we have many things. Okay, somebody's still typing. Wow, people are still typing.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. Also go to their library, but change the internet password, which I can't remember. That's good. Dishes, okay. People that I'm not available constantly. I tried that on my Instagram. Like I wrote, I'm offline. It didn't work. I had many unread messages, but now I just deleted it again because like I don't care, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's also maybe this is also something to say, like being able to delete the apps, because we're talking. This is a festival also for music and for arts in the broader sense. So it's a huge privilege, of course. Like I have one fixed job where I don't have to be available constantly on Instagram. Like not on my own account. I mean, I'm posting content on that particular page, but it's for like musicians or for people, I don't know, any creative people, artists who have their own, like promote their own work, they need it. It's obviously completely different. I cannot speak on behalf of, and I actually realized myself that for like this workshop we're doing today, I had less, the year I was not on Instagram, I had less, I was doing less freelance things or like less things like this. And that's also
because you weren't on people's mind as much.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's horrible.
Wow. So now we have a huge list. Okay, someone's still typing. But if you lose your phone in your house for a while, don't look for it. Yeah, I panicked. I lost my phone on my couch 2 weeks ago, and I panicked. I was really stressed. So maybe we wrap this up at this point and go to the next task. I will share the screen, that screen again, because it has to do with this. I hope you all open it on your. I hope you can have the link. So, no, not discuss. Oh, this looks weird. So maybe maybe now you could take your paper and turn it around for 5 minutes, and you can also look at the list and write yourself your 5 or 3 favorite things to do. That you want to do against your doom scrolling. So if you have a paper on one side, you say, I'm doom scrolling in this situation, and then you can turn it around. And what do I want to do? Like 5 things you can take from the list. I will set the timer again, maybe 4 minutes is enough now, because we don't have that much time left. I just realized we have like 10 minutes left, I think. And then I will call you back, okay?
Sounds perfect.
Cool. Okay. Maybe you can come back if you're ready. Was that enough time actually?
For me, it was because we had the list already.
Okay.
I found it really helpful. And I think
cool.
the others could probably continue writing if they're really like in the midst of it and missing 1 or 2 points. But I think it was okay.
Okay, cool.
But
I did something else. I hung up laundry.
No. But you already have a lot of strategies implemented, right?
Well, yeah, but I constantly fail at them. I know, like I've really done a lot of things, like limiting the time, and like I have this limit of like when I enter Instagram, and then it always has limit, like you've reached your limit, and then you can click OK or ignore limit, and I always ignore the limit. It's great. You also have that?
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it has just become a meaningless feature. I just see it and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, me too. It's
reached
like
my limit again.
Yeah, it's like if you remember, like in the 90s Windows computers when die hochfahren, so, then you have this image of dudum, and that's how it feels.
And you're like, okay. But I actually realized one thing as I was doing this exercise. So my point 3 strategy, because I kept thinking, what else could I do? And I realized at many times there isn't something else I could do, because I don't have a hobby that I'm so invested in anymore that I would like to do it when I'm anxious. The only thing I feel like I'm capable of doing when I'm anxious is doing this, because it takes energy to pick up a new hobby, right? So my point 3 strategy is embrace boredom and anxiety. So maybe instead of, for me, thinking I shouldn't be bored, I shouldn't be anxious, what should I be doing instead? Maybe I just have to like go through this to be so bored and so anxious that eventually my brain finds something else it could do. Maybe this is how you start a hobby again. I don't know. Yeah. I'll tell you. I'll tell you at the next event. No, but I really felt like maybe this is not the right way for me of thinking about it. Like what could I be doing instead? Maybe it's about embracing that it's fine to not know what to do for longer than 30 seconds at a time.
Yeah, maybe that's a good strategy. Also the idea with this paper was not to, it's a piece of paper. I don't know, you can throw it away afterwards or anything, or maybe you put it somewhere, but like the physicality of writing it down with your hands, like when I was in school and my father would tell me, if you're cheating, like if you write these small notes you use for cheating in school, he said he encouraged that, because he said when you're writing it down you memorize it. So it's good, do it. So maybe it's the same thing now.
That's actually also a number 1 anti-anxiety strategy of mine, just writing it down, pen and paper.
Really?
How I'm feeling. Yes. So I really struggle with not doing anything, but keeping myself busy one way or another actually does work. So I'm writing a lot, meaningless stuff, basically just like what's making me anxious. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Like it's not that insightful, but I'm actually doing that.
Yeah. So should I go to the next little task? I think we have like 5 minutes left. Maybe, I don't know, should we do this still? The 4th task would be to switch the phone back on. And those who have chosen to like have strategies on the list of something like limit the screen time or something, that you can apply them now. This would be the time. And maybe we can do it actually at the same time, reflect.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's us. Happy smartphone people now. And now we would just like to reflect a bit, maybe 5 minutes, those of you who are still here. How are you feeling now?
You can again just tell us in the chat if you would like to say something, and then we can give you Sprecherlaubnis.
Yes.
And I would be really interested actually to hear how you're feeling, and if you feel like you learned something new about your own behavior, online behavior.
Anyone? Nadine, yes, go ahead.
I thought a lot about what you said, Anahita, that you gave up on hobbies, for example. And I feel like, when you're in school, you're on teams, or, you just have always like these little things you do. But I think I don't really have a hobby as well. And except like other than maybe listening to music and like making playlists, and that's kind of nice. And I would like to keep on doing this, but I really like what this workshop pushed was maybe doing an actual physical hobby, which doesn't involve my computer, and actually kind of pushing for it somehow. Also, I don't know how yet, but I feel like the workshop kind of does give me an impulse because you spelled it out so clearly, because I never thought about like not having a hobby. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
yeah,
Definitely.
I completely know it. Maybe I can say something shortly, because I know, Nadine, you also work, you're part of DICE, so I know what you do. I know you personally, and for me it's also something with hobbies that I find really challenging, is to find hobbies that are not monetarizable.
Yes, every hobby is a side hustle.
Yeah, exactly.
Horrible.
And I mean, I don't go somewhere and think, oh, I'm gonna sell this or something. But like, okay, if I go to a concert and I write about concerts, where's my free time? Nelia, I saw you. Anahita, did you want to say something? Sorry.
No, I was just thinking before, while I was also reflecting on my own online behavior, that as a teen, for example, I think the things I did after I was so bored that I had to come up with something were extremely like deeply unproductive. And I think this is what I never do anymore. For example, I remembered I saw myself sitting in my like childhood bedroom writing down song lyrics in like with using like beautiful text markers and making basically like sticking pieces of paper to one to another to like basically create this poster of a song, of the lyrics of a song. And like there was no use for it. I didn't even hang it up in my own room. Like it was literally just me being engaged with the lyrics of a song, doing something creative. Like I would never do something like that at the moment. I would always feel like there's something I should be doing that's like necessary, or that I should have been already doing like a while back. And maybe that's also what hobbies are about, that they're like, that they honestly like just give you pleasure in the moment and nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, my friend told, it's interesting. This is really a teenage. I don't know if it's a teenage behavior, or if it's like 90s or like early 2000s behavior, to like lay on your bed and listen to music. Because I also don't do that. I sometimes try to do it, but then I have my phone in my hand because I use an app.
Yeah, it's the same device.
Yeah. And I was actually talking to a friend of mine before this workshop, and she said, yeah, when I was a teenager, I would always lay in bed and look at the wall and think. And I don't do that anymore.
I would also think before I went to bed. Like my lights were already turned off and I was just lying in the dark and reflecting on about my day. And now, honestly, I fall asleep. Like I'm very happy about that, but I fall asleep in like 10 seconds. Because I am on my phone until I'm tired enough to actually go to sleep. And then I put my phone down and I'm gone in 10 seconds. There's not a minute I'm actually thinking.
Yeah.
I think people are sharing, yeah.
Yeah, maybe, Nelia, do you want to say that, what you wrote down? Or like, do you want to use your microphone? Would you feel comfortable with that? Otherwise, I can also read it. I'll just read it. Okay. Yes, I can speak. Okay, I will invite you to speak, to have the Sprecherlaubnis. Sprecherlaubnis for everyone. Okay. I think you should be able to speak now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, as I wrote down also like the screen time reminder, it's just like I'm clicking it away. It doesn't really exist. And the screen time limit also feels irrelevant. So that made me think, now I almost wish you would have a constant reminder and like a constant visual representation of how much time has passed, because I feel like it's so easy to lose track of what you're doing. Wish that would be a feature. But then the other thing is, having a physical hobby that you're not monetizing is super helpful to me. And I started to pick up knitting with some friends last year. And then when you have like a knitting project, or I guess you can replace this with any other physical activity really, to just turn to that when you notice that you are doom scrolling and do something else physically with your hands. And even though that can still like be a little bit like of procrastinating in that moment where you're doing it, it's a lot easier to stop doing that, and then while you are doing something else with your hands, to have that moment to think about, oh, okay, what is it that I actually want to be doing, and do I want to continue doing crafts, or is there maybe something else that would be good to do now? And then it's a lot easier to actually start that new activity, because there's no algorithm with knitting that is designed to make you stay on it. Yeah, so I noticed that helped as well. And I can recommend physical activities to everyone.
Thank you. That sounds very helpful. Kind of not going from I'm doom scrolling, this is really addictive, to then I'm working out and spending the whole day not thinking about my phone, but kind of having an in-between activity. Sounds extremely helpful. I should try that. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I was just thinking about the proposal you had with the REZ just RERE, sorry. Just commented. That is exactly why I puzzle. So that's great. I never thought of, and I know it was a thing in the first few months of the pandemic. Remember, it was a thing. Everybody would start puzzling, but look at my concentration. I just read this in the chat and I forgot what I wanted to say, but I never picked it up. So what I wanted to say is, I think this suggestion you had, Nelia, with the screen time reminder, and that you think it would be great to have a line, like a buffering line on Instagram. I think it's really a really good idea. And I think it's really not going to happen at the same time because of, because these apps they want you to spend as much time as possible on them to accumulate capital. So I don't think, sorry, that was my cat. I don't think, I unfortunately think they do, like, all the technologies they provide. This is also something Anahita and I talked about in another context, how we ourselves do things on these apps, like allowing comments and not turning off likes, even though they have these small possibilities of like technical possibilities. But like on one hand, maybe how these apps do not want you to, they want you to spend as much time there as possible. And then also we cooperate willingly by not, if we post something, not switching off likes.
But I'm also wondering, like, how willingly is it? Because I mean, we talked about this in the context of making memes, right? And we discussed, because it's extremely tiring for me that I make a political meme and then I post it and then it starts, and then this like really boundless kind of work starts because there are reactions incoming and I don't know when, and I have to react quickly. And so often people ask me, why do you not turn off the comments then? But I really feel like this is kind of penalized by also the other users, like the online audience. They feel like if you turn off your comments, it's because there was a lot of criticism and you didn't have an answer, and therefore you just enabled the discourse or whatever. Acting as if this discourse was at all like productive or positive and not just like really, really destructive most of the time. But that's also kind of a social pressure almost, to keep engaged in a certain way.
I just looked at the watch and I realized it's 20 past. I think maybe we should wrap up.
Yes.
Or
maybe I'm gonna read the last comment, and then so
you can read the first comment, I can read the second, because I have something to add to the second.
Perfect. So someone said positive procrastination is good. For example, exercise. I went through a phase of only allowing myself to watch Netflix in the gym, which was great, and I download and listen to podcasts on airplane mode when at home. Pandemic blew up my discipline though. But it's a very helpful tip still.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, Nelia wrote, totally, it's never going to come from the companies. Wish there would be an external tool. This talks about the discourse in a nice way. I'm not going to click that because I'm afraid that then it's, or maybe I can click it. Can you see it? No, you can't.
You don't want to go, so, okay. because of the screen sharing.
Yeah,
I
because
thought you're scared of the void.
I'm also scared of the void. No, maybe this is a good thing to finish with. But yeah, something I was just thinking about, there's also apps, like I was using Freedom app. It's not the same thing, but there's also this tree app. There's a tree app that grows a tree while you're not using your phone. I don't know, I've never used it. But then I was on this Freedom app and it would literally just block the social media apps. And it was really horrible for me, but it was good at the same time. So maybe we wrap up.
Yeah.
I would say because we've overstayed a bit. Do you want to say something, Anahita?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed this. It came at the exactly right time for me. I told you this before when we had our like preliminary talk discussion about this. I also feel like there's sort of a, I don't know, it was a really like shameful process telling myself, why are you not implementing strategies? There are strategies available, as if it was a lack of self-discipline. And I really feel like collectively talking about something like this is really empowering and actually then implementing the strategies, but also not beating myself up if I don't. So I'm really happy. I'm just really happy that we opened up this discussion, basically. Not that we're the first ones to do it, but still, for me, it was the first time opening up myself to this discussion. So I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to take a lot away from this.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much thank you. I was also really happy to do this together with you, Anahita, because it's a match. And also, thank you to DICE Festival for like giving us the space to have this, and to everyone who participated actively or passively. I also a lot from it, because for me, I don't know, I feel it's so good to know that I'm not alone with this. For me, that's like my motivation with this. And I think, I don't know, maybe we have Teilzeit Instagram, whatever, part-time social media users. User is also a great name in this context, actually, but yeah. Anyway, thank you all for coming. I will just stop the presentation and say goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.